Trey, what can you tell us?
Yeah, hey guys, after 470 days of war, the second ceasefire agreement to this conflict went into effect this morning. We are following these minute-by-minute updates here in Hostage Square in Tel Aviv. Just a few moments ago, there were cheers throughout this square because people could see on the local news that the Red Cross was headed into Gaza to start the transfer of these 3 Israeli hostages. The entire country right now glued to television screens waiting for this news that these hostages will be transferred to the IDF and then come back here to Israel. The agreement was slightly delayed this morning after Hamas failed to provide the Israelis with the list of hostages set to be released. This prompted Israeli strikes across the Gaza Strip, both in the northern and central parts of Gaza. Hamas has released those names now. We know they are Rami Gonen, who was kidnapped from the Nova Music Festival, Emily Damari, a British Israeli who was taken from Kfar Aza, and Doron Steinbecker, who was also taken from Kfar Aza. On a briefing last night, an Israeli official described what this process is going to be like. Again, they will first be in the hands of the Red Cross and then transferred to the IDF. Then they'll be taken to one of 3 reception points along the border and then transported to local hospitals. We're getting new images out of Gaza today that are providing some clarity into what the past 15 months have looked like. You can see in this drone video here from Gaza's southernmost city of Rafah, widespread destruction. In this area, previously, this is where hostages were taken out during the November 2023 ceasefire. According to reports right now, the hostages that were held and will be released today will be coming out of central Gaza. All of this very fluid, but again, the latest information that we have here on the ground, reports indicate the Red Cross is currently participating in the transfer of these hostages, getting them from Hamas and then taking them to the IDF along the Gaza border. Guys.
So, Trey, right after we get these 3 out, when do the prisoners get out? And then when would the next when did the next 3 and the next 3 and the next 3? What's the cadence?
Yeah, this is going to be a grueling process for the Israelis. As for the exchange today, we've already seen images on local media of prison vans going to a prison in the West Bank where some of these high-profile Palestinian prisoners are set to be released. There will be a handful released this weekend, and then when the next transfer of Israeli hostages for prisoners happens the following weekend, you'll see more released. This is going to be a very slow process, a 6-week process, and each weekend there will be 3 or 4 hostages released, exchanged for those prisoners.
So, Trey, real quickly before we let you go, when it comes to the serious crimes, I mean, all of them are serious, but the most heinous crimes that some of the Palestinians that are in custody right now committed, are they going to save those for last, or was it part of the agreement that it's just the luck of the draw?
They're not. And actually, surprisingly, we had a copy of the ceasefire agreement that was sent to Fox News by a senior Hamas official. And I got to look at the line items of who's actually going to be released for the hostages. Within the first 9 Israeli hostages that will come out of Gaza, so 3 of them today, you're going to see 110 Palestinian prisoners with life sentences. So we are talking about specific individuals who were charged with crimes of terrorism and murder. For example, blowing up a pizza shop, a bus bombing, and a shooting attack in the West Bank. These are high-profile terrorists who are going to be released. And you see already on social media, Israelis speaking out saying, look, my loved one was murdered, and now their murderer is going to be back free into the West Bank. And so it is a very controversial deal, understanding that it was the only way to get these hostages out of Gaza. But this is just the beginning of what is going to be a very challenging process, and it's not all going to be good news. Without getting into the details of what we've heard from Israeli officials behind the scenes, this will be a heart-staking process for the Israeli people as they wait to see the hostages today. But again, this 6-week process just to get the first major group of hostages out.
Right. And these hostages come at a very high price. Trey, thank you very much for laying it all out.
Trey said they would be evaluated.